Greetings, greetings, greetings. You're now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the Vault, episode 547. Trustee Training for your kids. And so we definitely are thankful that you all are joining us on this episode. This is actually an episode with Dr. Bay with Trustee Training. So we definitely are thankful to have Dr. Bay sit in the room today and on the line and actually going over the details that we're going to go over. Dr. Bay has had a heavy background in estate planning and working with, high net worth investors, Dr. Bay, wealthy families.
Basically, yes.
Okay, well, we appreciate you coming on the line today, Dr. Bay, and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your understanding on the subject matter of preparing your kids to enable themselves to operate best in the commercial environment over here. So, this is actually a really good episode to talk to you and hear some of the best practices that you use to prepare your children financially, knowing that. Have you ever worked a job, Dr. Bay? That's first.
Yes.
Oh, so
one day.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get into that story, but thank you for joining us. Appreciate you, everybody that's listening. This is Dr. Julian Nettles Bay. Always appreciate him. Has been a mentor to me for years into the Vault. Some of the listeners that have come through have really taken advantage of working with Dr. Bay and being able to benefit from his mind share and through trustee training. So appreciate you, Dr. Bay, and thank you for coming on. We got someone tuning in live right now from Detroit, so appreciate everybody from tuning in from Detroit, Michigan, actually. Always appreciate it. So, Dr. Bay, you had children. You were in financial services. Could you give a little bit more background maybe about financial services? And then two, could you share just go ahead and hop into some of the things that you did for best practices for family and children?
Well, one of the things that we really need to be aware of as a trust go it's a system to manage your estate after you make your transformation. And so in making your transformation, you may have several children or one or two children left, and they need to be aware of the advantages of the trust and what it was divinely designed to do to benefit them and others too. And it could be present or future generations of people. So a trust is an instrument that is not structured strictly for one generation. It's structured for many generations. And to know, for your children to know that there's such a instrument exists, because I don't know whether you know this, but there are countless billions, if not trillions of dollars that have been in trust that has been held there, and the heirs that the trust was meant for didn't receive because they didn't know about it and didn't understand it.
Correct. So what type of conversations did you have with your family early on when it came to trusteeship, and just how early did you start talking to your children about your estate plan and things of that nature?
Well, I looked at it and was introduced to it in a format pretty early in life before I got into doing it myself. So what I looked at and started talking to my kids about was what I'd set up or what I had seen others set up to benefit themselves, present and future generations. So in doing so, I was introduced to the insurance industry. And when I was introduced to the insurance industry, the company I went with was basically not estate planning orientation. It was burial insurance. And I felt rather uncomfortable with that lack of knowledge of the management and the people that I was dealing with, because my understanding of insurance, period, was to replace a loss, not to bury somebody. In other words, if the father was making his transformation, he's been working and paying for, or had the income and was paying for whichever one, food, clothing, a place to stay, electric bill, and car note, and house, and on it goes. And to me, to take out the insurance should be to replace the loss. You know, you take a insurance out on your car to replace your loss. On your home, if it catches on fire, to replace the loss. And so it was this type of lack of understanding that this company that I was with that was promoting that caused me to go and set up my own agency and deal with estate planning.
So at what age did you start sharing that information with your children, or what are your thoughts on age appropriate information to children?
Well, it literally depends on you and the children. I don't remember right off what age I started, what age I was. I know more at what age they were when I started talking to them about what I was doing, which is, around 3 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay. Okay. So we got quite a few people listening right now, so definitely want to do my best to share as much value as we possibly can. Right now, we're dealing with families, actually dealing with a family, and so quite a few families actually. And so one of the things I would like to ask you is, did you hold family meetings? How often do you hold family meetings? What is the partial structure to those family meetings, if you could, please?
Well, I mastermind with my family, yes. We did it, I don't know, maybe twice a week or something like that, but it was certainly weekly. And because I had other masterminding aspects, but I masterminded with my people that was working for me, as well as a community organization, that a bank that had a trust department was a part of the mastermind organization, because I was president of a community organization.
Now, it's interesting, Dr. Bay, recently just putting some things together, felt actually like you, because of masterminding and doing that with the family, and then doing that with the community organization. Actually, we're looking to plan and probably organize a community organization for that reason, knowing that there is a lot of opportunity to mastermind with community organizations. Just thinking about that, I was thinking about how you've done that in the past, and you've been, ultra successful by having multiple organizations that you're working with, communities specifically, putting that together and really sitting on the board and being actively involved in your community. So I definitely appreciate you for that as an example. And really want to continue to hop into this. How do you pass along information properly from one generation to the next? What are some of the best practices you would say to pass along information, not just money, but information, Dr. Bay, from one generation to the next?
Well, to do what I just said, set up a mastermind group where a person knows what various things and various aspects of your thinking is about that is in your family.
Okay. So
and
here,
what they want to acquire, uh, and what you want them to acquire, and what you put together to aid them in acquiring what they want to acquire or what they even should acquire.
okay. And so, how do you? I want to talk about the downside, Dr. Bay. I really do. I think it's always easy to talk about what we should do. We should be doing the mastermind, but what happens when there are people that they're not coming to the mastermind on time, or everybody doesn't show up, or people have tight schedules? What were your thoughts? How did you deal with that if that were to happen? And if it did happen, how would you deal with that? People just not coming on the line, adding a lot of value, and not showing a high level of enthusiasm. What would you say about that?
Well, the lack of knowledge is the biggest challenge we have on Earth because people have challenges, and their challenges are based on what they know as well as what they don't know. There are laws or jurisdictions, like there are 9 of them, and they regulate much of one's life. But one of the main ones is your own thoughts and what you tell yourself you're going to do or not going to do. And so the lack of knowledge is a major aspect of what to do or how to do it and that type of thing that most people don't do and don't have. And so my first thing I'd suggest to anybody is to get the knowledge that they need to do the things they need to do or want to do or desire to do,
And that's why,
so they'll know how to do it.
ladies and gentlemen, that's why we all appreciate you all for listening to The Vault. We appreciate you listening to the podcast. And so we definitely appreciate you all. And that's what we do at The Vault. We do trustee training. We look forward to hearing from you so you can get the right information, to get the training that you need to pass along the money from one generation to the next. We sat around some lawyers the other day and completely educated them on something they didn't know about. And there's always something you can learn. And so for that reason, you have to invest in your education. You have to pay something for something. Dr. Bay, what are your thoughts on trustee training? Do you think the information that you learned about estate planning should be free? And if it's not supposed to be free, what do you think the cost of learning that information should be, average dollar cost?
I have no idea. It depends on your jurisdiction that you live in and a whole bunch of other things.
Okay.
There are different types of governmental structures, even here in the United States, even from county to county, that may vary, or from state to state, or the type of state. Like there's land trust states, there are community property states, there are commonwealth states. It's not a better answer. It's a knowing, and so you can demonstrate and show what the person is in. So all of them are not the same, and not at all.
I agree with that. Go ahead, Dr. Bay, finish up. Excuse me about that.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. The thing is the knowledge, and having a source to get the knowledge of what to do based on you and where you are and what you're trying to accomplish. There needs to be a questionnaire, and I designed a questionnaire even now for people, because some people, they may have gotten married into a situation where they'd been a previous marriage, and they set up a system where certain things stayed with the previous marriage and all that type of stuff. There's just so many aspects of it that it's not funny.
Well, let's stick on working with the kids type of information, and sticking with how do you groom your kids properly into the information. What are some of the best practices? What are some techniques, some strategies that you use what were some of the rites of passage you set up for your children, quote unquote, if you're open to sharing, for them to, quote unquote, for their inheritance or the wealth that you would pass along to them? What will be some of the best practices for rites of passage for them?
Okay. I set up some things that some people might even consider ridiculous. I I even set up an incentive that if they married into a certain family, they would have a certain amount of income. I also set up a situation where if they were on drugs or alcohol or that type of stuff, they would not receive things because a lot of people money is, and the more they got it, the more they mess their lives up with drugs, alcohol, cheating, and all the various aspects of it. So it's a way to govern things once you make your transformation. And so it varies from individual to individual to what they want for their children and the condition of their children. Their children, some of them may have a health challenges that wouldn't allow them to be educated into a system or to do a certain thing. So it's not a da-da-da situation. It's a situation where you have to deal with every individual differently.
Correct.
Because just like no two people are alike, the reason and the structures behind the trust aren't alike either, because of what the person is trying to accomplish and who they have to accomplish it for as the trust go.
Okay, so I definitely want to stick to a train of thought here, and so let's stick to the rites of passage that you put in place for the children. So once again, drugs, like you say, could be even educational standards, marital standards. Okay, so this is for someone still in the trench, still developing this. What are some of the things that you would say they should be thinking about when they are looking to put a rites of passage in place for their children to inherit or capture the wealth? And they're not disabled, but they have fully functioned. What are some of the things you would say you could look or put in place possibly as a best practice?
Well, sure. Again, that depends so much on an individual, so it's not funny. In doing, I've done that type of planning for around 31 years, and I don't remember no two of them being exactly alike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it really involves people wanting and what they want to do and manage and how they want to do and manage it. And it also understanding that trust varies so greatly. I remember back then you could have a trust, and we're talking about liquid assets of maybe a $250,000. Now it's hard to have a trust under that. I'm talking about a functional trust that is being administrated properly for under $2 million. And so there's a whole world of understanding, because if you make somebody a trustee and they're not governed by trust law, what happens if they don't have the insurance to cover what they do? What happens if they blow the money? It's like if you make a family member a trustee and they don't share the money to the rest of the family like they want to that time. And there's three aspects of a trust: is the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. And so you need to understand who you got, what you got, and how it can be administered. So it's really not something I could just say maybe right off. If I was dealing with some people and they had a certain situation, then I could certainly aid them in doing that from the standpoint of how and why they should have a trust. But that in itself even now is an involved process, because just like I said, it depends on what they want and what the jurisdiction that they're structuring the trust under it requires, and the trust trustees, what and who they are and how they're protected to administrate the trust. Because if you have a trust and you set it up for one of your children to manage, or even your spouse to manage it when you make your transformation, what happens when they make their transformation? How is that aspect set up? And so forth and so on. It's really an involved process. And if they get in touch with you, they can get involved in what we do and understand that things need to be specifically designed for what they have in mind, and getting more things in mind that they can do with a trust too.
I agree with that, and there's definitely high benefit and high value to that. I think that there's a work. Do people get into it with the mindset of how much work they're gonna do? You know, someone may not know that they have these structures available to them, and so in turn, when they get in, sometimes it's, oh wow, there's a lot of work that I gotta do, even if it is working with someone else. What are your thoughts, or what do you say to people that they want to be involved in it, they get involved in it, and then immediately it's, oh wow, this is a whole new learning experience. There's a lot more work here than what I thought. So, what would you say to those people?
Well, in order to have anything, you gotta do what's necessary to have it. Um, it is not. Life was meant to be, like I tell people, the greater the challenge, the greater the opportunity to prove your greatness by overcoming it. So, you got to realize that things are designed a certain way, and to do what you want to do has to fit in with you and the way that things are designed to do, as far as estate planning goes, and what is available to you, and what you should do, and how you should do it, is not a da-da-da simple answer. If you're going to do something right, you got to do it right.
Right. And like you say, the cost associated with that is something that people have to be aware of and be willing to invest in their education. Like, did you go to wealth conferences when you were active, heavy active, or a lot more active in your estate planning?
I don't know what a wealth conference is. What do you mean?
Well, you know, financial advisor, those insurance conferences, the way they talk about helping people to retain their wealth that they've already made.
Well, I find that most insurance companies that I was familiar with didn't go into that level, but some of them did. You know, insurances fall in various categories, whether it's a blue chip company, or a top standard company, a middle standard company, or a substandard company. And most people don't know that either. And I find that even from an insurance standpoint, different ages, different companies are better suited for a different individual. That's the reason why in my agency we had about 8 different companies, because what was best for a 35-year-old person is not what company was best for a 65-year-old company. So there's just so much to doing it the right way till it's it even depends on whether the person owns a business and whether it's a partnership, and what the laws governing partnerships, and what type of buy-sell agreement is structured, and how it's financed, and what it's based on. I could just go on and on and on. It's just not a da-da-da type thing.
Okay, so let's go into what would you think would be an appropriate cost, and this is generalization, for helping someone administer a trust, helping them administer the assets. Now, granted, we don't know how much the asset and the trust is worth. But for someone to walk into that and to think that someone's services, what should they expect as far as the cost for someone to help them administer the assets?
Are you talking about the trustee, or are you
The
talking
trustee.
about the the trustee? Well, it varies. I mean, here again, different trust companies. It depends on the size of the trust,
I know,
relationship.
Dr. Bay,
They
but
maybe
I know, Dr. Bay, but I know it's a general question. I'm
I
doing my best
can't
to
give.
give.
See, I don't like it's too general, and I can't
I
give
understand.
a
I
specific.
understand. I'm not going to do that to you, Dr. Bay. I don't want you to be held liable for something that's not accurate. So you're appropriate. I appreciate you for just highlighting that point, and that's why we encourage you all to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Feel free to reach out to that email, Christian at trustchristian.com, because we can give you that clarity. We can answer a few preliminary questions that say, hey, how much should the initial cost be, or how much should the maintenance fee be? There are maintenance fees, and there are fees, and this is an environment where a lot of fees are associated because usually people in this environment have capital already. There's two different types of mindsets that we've seen: people that say they're building wealth and people that have wealth. There's a difference, and there's a difference on how they
Yeah,
administer that wealth, how the decisions that they make. Some people are building, and then some people they're just focused on not losing it. Those are two different thought processes when it comes to assets, wealth preservation, things of that nature.
absolutely. And it's more than two, but that's okay. Yes.
Right.
Uh, because it depends on what you own, and as the uh, grantor in a trust, it depends on what you own and what you want to do with the trust, and what you want the trust to do after you make your transition. Many trusts years ago, and I don't know what it is percentage-wise, and that's when you had to have liquid cash of $250,000 and then around $2 million. Uh, uh, they may invest things, make a certain percentage, but they kept 0.5% as a fee for administering the trust.
Right.
And so that depends on the investors and how good they are at understanding the market and trade and all of the other things involved with your particular asset that you're talking about.
Right. Well, we'll definitely appreciate you, Dr. Bay. We'll actually do our best to come back with Dr. Bay with another episode. A bunch of people are definitely thankful that you were able to come on and share your wisdom. And, this is a highly touted subject matter. We have quite a few listeners that want to be aware of this. People have children. They wonder, oh, when do I start with my children, and how early is too early? And, teaching them the concept of money, teaching them the concept of something for something instead of something for nothing. Those are things that we definitely want to continue that conversation on and have with you, Dr. Bay, and we appreciate you even starting the conversation. We will do another episode for the listening audience, so feel free to know that there's going to be another episode posted on the channel. But for now, we just appreciate you, Dr. Bay, really highlighting those small 5 to 10 minute conversations that someone may want to have with a financial advisor, someone that they want to have a financial conversation with, and actually be educated. And so, looking forward to that for sure.
Well, there's the legal aspects of it too. The attorney fees, and all of that involved in even setting up the trust. And you need somebody that's knowledgeable enough to know what type of trust you need based on what type of state you're in. And I could go on and on and on.
Right. Okay. I definitely appreciate you, Dr. Bay. We all appreciate you. We look forward to hearing from you on these episodes. And is there any parting words that you would like to share with individuals or families? And this is really, once again, talking about trusteeship for your kids.
Well, my thing is always having accurate, demonstrable wisdom or knowledge, or whatever you want to call it, because the more a person knows, it's like whatever you do, and whatever you join, knowing what is good for you, and even knowing what trust department is ministering and what they're investing in, and all of that may play a role into what you want to accomplish. So, and it's really a sophisticated, very sophisticated thing. You need somebody that specializes in that area and that truly understands that aspect of law and how it works.
Awesome. Definitely appreciate you, Dr. Babe. We'll definitely come back and do another episode. Feel free to reach out for Trustee Training, Christian@trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian@trustchristian.com. We will be doing another workshop this year, and look forward to actually having Dr. Babe sit in the room. So look forward to seeing you all there. Feel free to reach out Christian@trustchristian.com for details. Look forward to hearing from you. Peace and joy.